This is a big one. Proportions, solving them. And it's a big one because a lot of people kind of end up liking this topic. It's not really a very difficult topic, and it's useful in so many places. So many places. Let's dive in and take a look. At this point, depending on where you are in your math journey, you may already know how to solve proportions. We're going to kind of write it out in a generic way as for note's sake. So if we have a proportion is something like A over B equals C over D. So remember I said, what is a proportional relationship? It's equivalent fractions. Really, that's this equals that. If we want to string it on out, this fraction equals that fraction equals the other fraction equals, etc., right? And then they're all proportional. So when we're solving a proportion, now pause, put a pin in it, stop a second. Let's back up. Before I talk about how to solve a proportion, I want you to remember something, and I want to stress it really hard. And that is later, when I ask you in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, calculus, whatever, heck, physics, chemistry, whatever. If I ask you the question, how do you multiply fractions? Your answer should and will be straight across. Top times the top, bottom times the bottom. And I'm stressing this, and you're like, why are you yelling at me? Well, it's because I'm not really yelling. It's okay. I'm not mad. I just want you to understand. And the reason is because I'm about to use a phrase that's cross multiply. And once that phrase gets introduced, I think it's because it just rolls off the tongue so well, cross multiply like that. It just sounds so sweet. And because it sounds so sweet, so many times when I'm teaching high school classes or whatever, and I ask people, how do you multiply fractions? Somebody will say, cross multiply. That's not how you multiply fractions. You multiply fractions straight across. So, PSA, lecture over. Pin pulled. Let's get back to how to solve proportions. Well, I basically told you how to solve proportions just now, because how we solve proportion is we cross multiply. What the heck am I drawing? That don't look like no arrow. 8 times D equals B times C. Okay, so let's use this fact in a couple 3 or so examples, and let's solve us some proportions. So we're going to solve on these examples. Example numero uno. We've got B over, excuse me, 15 equals 66 over 90. Okay. So to solve for B, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to cross multiply. B times 90 is 90B. 15 times 66 is 990. Verify in your scratch paper space or on a calculator or both. Now we got to get rid of that 90. It's multiplied onto the B, so we're going to divide by 90 on both sides. We're left with just B equals 990 divided by 90 is 11. And that's that easy. Let's do one more, then we'll throw in a word problem, just because we always need more practice with word problems. Not because they're necessarily hard, but because you have to think. And so the more practice we can get thinking, the better. So example 2 is 3.2 to 9 equals n to 36. We're going to cross multiply. How do you multiply fractions? Write it in the comments right now. Pause the video. in the comments below. Write down. You multiply fractions straight across. Don't forget it. I'm not mad. It's okay. N times 9 is 9n. 3.2 times 36 is 115.2. Then we're going to divide that 9 off. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. N equals 152.2 divided by 9 is 12.8. Wow. Let's do a word problem. Put our thinking caps on. We like thinking. You like thinking? Comment down below. I like thinking. Or something. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, by the way. The wait time to ride a roller coaster is 20 minutes when 160 people are in line. At this rate, how long is the wait when 220 people are in line? So when we're writing a proportion with from a word problem, it can be really useful to, at the beginning, put the units in there because we need to know which things go where. So the wait is 20 minutes when 160 people are on. And we want to know how long is the wait. So the wait would be the time. So it's going to go in the same place as the time. So X minutes when we've got 220 people. So we want to make sure that our units match, right? So people on the bottom, time on the top, right? So we're going to cross multiply again. 160 times X is 160X. 20 times 220 is 4,400. That was a gutsy move, Maverick. I started saying the answer by doing it in my head before I double-checked in the book. That's how mistakes are made. But that's okay. Y'all see me make my fair share of mistakes. Everybody does it. 160 is what we're dividing by. Cancels right there. So X equals 27.5. What's our units? Minutes is our units. Make sure you put units when we're doing word problems. That's it for solving proportions. We've got a few lessons to go. We're halfway through this unit. And at this rate, you're probably doing just fine since these videos are pretty short anyway, because the lessons are pretty short. If you're one of my students, see you in class. Do your homework. If you're not one of my students, thanks for joining us. Check out emberlearninglabs.com for more information and more things. If you wouldn't mind, we would really appreciate if you dropped a like on this video and maybe even hit that subscribe button. It helps us be able to give you all this content for free.